Hi everyone, welcome back to the Curated Shelf. Now, first of all, just a happy summer solstice to everybody who celebrated, or if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, happy winter solstice. For us, I'm in the Northern Hemisphere, and it's just a great time of year. We have had very little sunshine, but still appreciating the longer days, and so yeah, just really, really good to be up and running again. So I just want to jump straight into this video because it is on a deck that I purchased from a recommendation from a friend. And I just want to say a big thank you to her because it has been a great deck. And I thought for the end of this month, I would do a review of this deck. So the deck that I want to talk about today is the Dreaming Way Tarot. So here it is, the other way around. Here it is. So this is a deck that's by, the author is, I'm going to pronounce this, going to butcher this, but the author is Rome Choi, and the artwork is by Kwon Shina. And from what I gather from the little white book, it's a deck where the author was studying and also I think teaching at the University of Seoul, and he had an experience, and whilst he was teaching there, the experience focused on this pursuit of happiness, or this realization of happiness, I should say. And so, yeah, he created this deck, and I have been using it for the whole month of June, and I thought it'd be fantastic to wrap up the month with a review of this. So if you're interested in this deck, if you're thinking about purchasing it, or if you've already got it, perhaps this video would be a really good help, either to add your comments, or if you're gonna spend the money, well, there you go, this might help you. So first of all, let me just get into the images of the cards. The cards themselves are really, really pretty and gorgeous. The manufacturer is US Games, so I just want to point that out. And it is standard US Games cardstock, which is beautiful. Very easy to shuffle, not too slippery. There's a slight sheen, but not too much. Very good quality cardstock. Sorry, the deck is not in order, but I think that's fine. And it's a really, really good deck in terms of the actual size and quality. And also, I actually really appreciate the layout. It's just so easy to get to the images, and a very simple border. If you wanted to trim the border, I don't think it'd be very difficult on this deck. This is the back of the cards, before I forget. Yeah, I really like the back. I'm not sure if they go quite well with the deck, but I like the back. So, and it is a Rider-Waite-Smith clone. So I think it's also a really great deck if you're a beginner. So let me go through some of my experiences with this deck first of all. I bought it upon recommendation from a friend. It was kind of like one of those spur of the moment, kind of like, she kept saying it's a great deck, and I'd had it on my wish list last year, and I was just like, okay, yeah, fine. It wasn't something I really, really was thinking too much about. I just picked it up. And I decided to make this my deck for June. Now, I want to really point this out because I, like everybody else, I mean, this is called the curated shelf, like everybody else, I can suffer from FOMO, fear of missing out. And one of the ways that I've been able to combat that, especially when it comes to picking tarot back up after coming back after 5 years and seeing a huge range of decks, one of the ways that I was able to combat that was to actually start to do a practice where I would use the same deck for about a month. Now, I am part of the Connect With Your Deck community, which you can find on Facebook. I can put the link below. But there's loads of other communities. I think Dawn Michelle from Boho Tarot is about to also do more kind of like weekly or daily kind of like prompts or questions, just to help us connect with the tarot deck or the oracle deck, or both that we're working with. And I really, really find that useful because it gives me kind of like a guiding question. Sometimes, now with what's happened with the Dreaming Ways, that the deck is just so superb that sometimes it doesn't answer the question, or it doesn't relate to the question from the prompt that I'm looking at. Sometimes it actually just shows me cards about things that are on my mind. So it's a very clever deck, I think. But anyway, I picked it up, and then I thought, for the month of June, it would be perfect. So the other thing that I want to say about this deck is I think it's a great spring summer deck, and that's because I find it very, very airy. When you look at the images, it's very clear to you. Very kind of like light colors. I think it's watercolor that's been used here. Very harmonious. It's a deck that really kind of like is very fresh. That's the word that I want to use. It's very fresh to use. And because it's Rider-Waite-Smith clone, it's just also very easy in terms of understanding the imagery and where it's coming from. I think it's a deck with a little bit of a twist. I think sometimes when I've looked at the cards, even though it's very straightforward, I find that they kind of like make me question things. They make me kind of like think they're a bit sassy sometimes. And the other thing I want to point out is I know a lot of people have thoughts about the fashion used and the clothing and the attire on the people. And when I was using the deck, it was also very prominent to me that the attire is very kind of like, you know, and then I realized what it was. I could not put it in a particular time period. So I couldn't say, oh, it's Victorian or it's Edwardian or it's, you know, it's from the 70s. It's kind of like a fashion which is kind of like out of time. And I think that's also kind of like really playing into this dreaming way, this dreamy atmosphere, because I can't quite place the outfits. So, you know, this is a classic white shirt dress kind of thing, and then, you know, these are very classic peasant type outfit here, and then all of a sudden you look at this and it's you know, these cups with this beautiful pattern, polka dot pattern on them. So it really kind of like, I think I know what the outfit, what period it's going to be in. Is it going to be like the 18th century or the 19th century? And then all of a sudden, you know, I look at it and I think, no, we've jumped a few decades now. This doesn't even make sense. So that's one thing about the deck that I particularly liked, was that it really did play with my mind. This is one of my favorite cards. It's the Nine of Coins, or the Nine of Pentacles, sorry. And I bought the deck based upon this because I'm a Virgo rising, so I've got very earthy energy, and the dress that she's wearing is basically got an identical pattern to a dress that I have. And I just, yeah, anyway, it sounds a bit strange, but it was a fantastic card. So yeah, I really, really love this deck, and I think that I would really recommend it, especially if you're either coming back to tarot, if you're new to tarot. It's a classic. Price point is around, I bought it around 20 euros. I think I just saw it on sale for around 15 or 16. So it's also in a very affordable price bracket. I think the only thing about this deck that I sometimes get a bit annoyed about is that the tuck box is really tight. You know, come on, US games, like, yeah, they do beautiful tuck boxes, let's say for Hush Tarot, and then for this one, you know, I don't find it. So I'm kind of like, well, why can't you be consistent? So, but I do believe that this is a deck from 2011 or 2012, around that period. And so I just want to say that I think perhaps because of its date as well, and it's been around a long time, but perhaps that's why the boxes are still a little bit old-fashioned. So the other part of it is, and I just want to check my notes so I make sure that I cover all the stuff that I need to. So yeah, it's got great art, use of subtle lines and stuff like that. But the other thing that I wanted to draw upon this deck was the images. And what I really captured about this deck when I was using it was that the way sometimes the people within the images, sometimes they're very withdrawn and they're kind of like in a thinking state. Sometimes you see the emotion coming out through the body language. And there are times, and I have to say, I love the pages in this deck. If there is a deck where I can understand the pages really well, which is some of the hardest cards for me, is the page energy. It's this deck. It's really got fantastic page energy. So, and sometimes the characters are looking straight ahead at the viewer, and at the reader, sorry. And I personally find that the interplay between me as a reader and the figures in the card is just, it's just amazing. So yeah, I'm really, really surprised about how much I really like this deck in that sense. So what did I pair it with? Let's go on to that. So first of all, I got this deck back in, I think, April. Decided to use it for the whole month of June to really get to know it. And around the same time, a friend decided to send me as a gift the Enchanted Map Oracle by Colette Baron Reid. So let me grab that. So the Enchanted Map Oracle is by Colette Baron Reid, and I just want to make sure that I get the artist correct as well. And yeah, it is her collaboration with, I'm going to butcher it now, Jenna Della Guartaglia. I know she's done a lot of Oracle decks, with this artist, Colette Baron Reid. And of course, it is like a really good combination. And like I think many people who have now discovered Colette Baron Reid decks, I'm probably going to get slaughtered for saying this, but I find that they are kind of like quite generic. And it's kind of like sometimes, personally, I feel sometimes a Western view towards certain things, certain cultures. But I find that the guidebooks have been written really, really well, and really well sectioned. So I'm going to go into that in a second, but this is the Enchanted Map Oracle, which I think many of you have seen. A new version has just been released, I think, in the last 6 months, which is borderless. I don't know if it's matte or if it's gloss, but it is borderless. I know a lot of people have gone out and bought that one. I really, really like it, but this was gifted to me, and I just appreciate the gift. So I got this basically at the beginning of June, and I decided to pair this with the Dreaming Way, and they worked perfectly together. So if you happen to have this deck, I would suggest it to pair with the Dreaming Way tarot. And yeah, as you can see, like, you know, I do read it as a reversal, sorry, so that's why you might be seeing that. But yeah, I kind of like, you know, really, really enjoyed using this deck. And what I would do is I would sometimes pull a card a day, but sometimes the messages are so strong in this Oracle deck that I would sometimes just pull an Oracle card once every few days whilst I was still using the Dreaming Way every day, kind of like, you know, refreshing the cards. So that's one option. And just because I did mention, you probably all know this, but the guidebooks to Colette Baron Reid decks are just amazing. I mean, you know, she's got upright and then reversed, but in the other deck I'm going to show you, there's even more depth to it. But you know, she's just got it right. And I always find when I reusing a Colette Baron Reid, cat's got up, a Colette Baron Reid Oracle deck. The one thing that I really like about her decks is that she leaves the reader or the querent with a route through and kind of like tools, emotional tools, mental tools that we can use to help come out of the situation. And I really appreciate that. So, you know, I don't think it's all light, by the way. I don't think it's a soft, fluffy oracle, even though sometimes it might feel like that. I think she's got a good balance of kind of like light and shadow. So, excuse the cat, but I think he's taking my bookshelf as his new bedroom. So yeah, so that's the Enchanted Map. The other Oracle deck, which I absolutely loved using, is another Colette Baron Reid deck, which is very famous, Wisdom of the Oracle. I think both are price point around between 15 to 20 euros, so very affordable. This is a very well-known deck. I think it's been around, must be at least 10 years now. I love the guidebook in this deck. I love the guidebook. You know, she's given essential meaning, the oracle's message, then a relationship message, then a prosperity message, and then a protection message. I mean, yeah, I think she's really taken the time to make this. So again, the artist, and I want to be careful how I say her name again, is Jenna Della Guartaglia. I'll get it right. And yeah, and I bought this deck. Honestly speaking, I bought this deck because everybody has this deck, and I was just like, okay, everybody has this, and it wasn't a fear of missing out. It was actually a bit more like YouTubers that are very, let's put it this way, YouTubers that are very everyday, run-of-the-mill love this deck. I'm talking about, sorry, tarot tubers specifically. And then there are tarot tubers who perhaps have a left-hand path, or more of a, they more look at the more shadow side of things. They love this deck, and that's why I was kind of like, okay, I have to check it out, because yeah, so many tarot tubers love it and have said that it has helped them in so many different ways. So yeah, I kind of like wanted to just check it out, and I did buy this one. So this wasn't gifted, but yeah, I absolutely love this. And again, the images are very airy, and I think this pairs really, really well with the Dreaming Way. So that's why I wanted to bring it up. I mean, let's take an image from the Dreaming Way. I'm just trying to pick something up here that you haven't seen, you know, and let's put these two together. Sorry, let's put these two together. So here we have the Three of Swords. You know, it's a bit of heartbreak, a bit of sadness, accepting that sometimes what is logical and rational wins, and you know, we don't get what we feel is right emotionally, and let's just put it that way. And then, you know, if you pick up something like this which says all that glitters, you know, and all that saying all that glitters isn't gold, you know, be careful that what we see is not really what's real. And you know, when I put these two together, I think this is a beautiful pairing. So I was really, really lucky, I think. But also, I just want to mention that I think it really shows the versatility of our oracle and our tarot decks, when we can just like pull something off the shelf and put them together. And I think it really also helps because it stops us from going out and, you know, buying something that we don't necessarily need. You know, we don't necessarily need to get a new oracle or a card deck, a tarot deck, just because we want to complement it with something else. So yeah, so I wanted to mention that I used it with this deck, and another couple of decks that I think it might work with. I haven't used them with Dreaming Way Tarot, but I happened to pick up, I think it's been up because it's been on sale, is the Oracle of Mystical Moments. Now, I still don't have the Tarot of Mystical Moments because I'm waiting for it. I am one of those people that, yes, I didn't get onto the list quick enough, so I don't have the tarot. It's on its way from the Netherlands. But in the meantime, I did pick up the Oracle. Now, this is the Oracle deck that's very well known. The author is Katrin Wellstein, I would say Wellstein. And I just want to check if she's also the artist that made it, so that I'm fair on this. I think she's also the actual artist, not just the author. And I need to check, but I think it is just herself. And yes, so yeah, Katrin Wellstein. And the other reason why, also, by the way, I really, really want both of her decks, her tarot and her oracle, is because I live in Belgium, and we have here paper blanks. I think you've all seen paper blanks. There's these beautiful notebooks that are produced with like 120 GSM paper. I love those notebooks. But anyway, her art has been used by paper blanks. Obviously, they've collaborated for some of their notebooks, and because I've seen those notebooks in the shops, I've always been intrigued by the artist. So yeah, when I picked up the Oracle deck, I was really chuffed, and you know, and I know I'm going to get my hands on the tarot for sure. I mean, but yeah, it's been amazing to have this Oracle deck, and I think this will also, again, you know, if I take a card from here, from Dreaming Way Tarot, and if I put them together, you know, I think that they can have some beautiful, beautiful kind of like imagery that kind of like complements each other, especially with the colors, the airiness, the lightness of the deck. So yeah, so that was just another suggestion I wanted to bring up. I just realized it's 20 minutes into this video, so I'm guessing I should stop soon. Anything else that I want to mention quickly before I ring off is, you know, one of the things that I'm going to be doing a video on soon, and I know that Matt from Tabby Tara, he did also a video recently, was on this whole buying decks and buying lots of decks and all these kind of things, which I definitely can suffer from. And this channel's called the Curator Shelf for a reason. Is using a deck for 1 month, and I think with the Dreaming Way Tarot, which I'll come back to, using it for 1 month has really opened my eyes again, and I've done this before, of how much I learn from when I just stick to the same thing for a little bit, and give it a chance instead of just jumping onto the next deck and the next deck. That's one part of it, and the other part of it is that I believe that the decks are a channel for something that I can hear or I can tap into, and when I'm jumping around too much between decks, it's almost like that gets jarred, for me anyway, that gets jarred. So yeah, so I have really enjoyed being able to get into this deck. I do recommend it for everyone, and I hope this review has helped you. I will be back next week, and thank you so much for your time. See you.